Raoul, Bonnie, yeah, Tiffany, hey, yeah, hey. Oh, knocking the computer around. Greetings. La 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 la. I was just listening to this song by L'Chaim, black dude rapper. Y'all, we're gonna be here tomorrow because it is the first Sabbath of this moon cycle. Belinda Brown, good day, family. Yes, the Queen of Sheba. Reading about the Queen today, Queen Sheba. Look. Y'all ever read about the Sabians? How it talks about as the the light races of people, or though our captors. Thank you, Belinda Brown. Look, it talks about it took me a couple years to figure it out till I actually started reading more on the Queen of Sheba, but I found out the Sabians come from Queen Sheba's people, like the Queen of Sheba. Yeah, so if you read through scripture and it talks about how the captors will be taken by the Sabians, that's Queen Sheba folk. Yeah. So just a little fun fact there for those of you that didn't know. You can actually Google it now, because I Googled it not too long ago and it was there. And some child has gotten up throughout the night. I just realized that I made some rolls last night with dinner, and it was quite a few left. Everybody was asleep when I went upstairs. Everybody, besides my husband. But I put him in his gallon Ziploc bag and set it on the counter. Now the pan is out of the Ziploc bag. Like, I didn't even notice that walking here to the kitchen until I just looked over there. But the pan is out of the Ziploc, because it's a little aluminum pan. It's out of the Ziploc bag thrown over on the eye, and there's 2 rolls left in this pan. I don't know which child it was. It was probably Jeremiah. Girl, Solomon was mixing up with everybody, wasn't he? He had a whole harem of women. Right? Okay, y'all, so let's get to it. Today is Saturday. Read a little bit more. Reading about the Queen of Sheba and Solomon, the Prince of Demons. Oh, that's so good. Look. And there is another book, what is it called? I definitely know I shared it before, but it goes into a little more detail about King Solomon and how, when he was building the temple, how he actually used the dark forces to help him in his building, right? So some of you may have heard that. If anybody know anything about Freemasons, they have a little bit more knowledge about that, because they kind of look into some of those things. But nevertheless, it's all true, So you got pieces of our history split up everywhere, and some people take the portions that they have gotten from the history of our people and turn it into like a whole religion or a whole secret society or whatever. But nevertheless, it's true. They use it for whatever they want to use it for. They adjust some things, they retell some stories in a few different ways. But nevertheless, if you know the story, you know who's using pieces of the story in their part of the world. But nevertheless, all right, y'all. So let's go ahead. Yeah, there's another book that goes into a little bit more detail. Matter of fact, let me make sure. Let me find it. I'll share it today. And actually, what it was, when he was talking to the demons, he was asking them. The whole book is full of it, right? And he asked each of the demons. Of course, it's not an exhaustive list of the demons that he spoke to, but the ones that he spoke to, they actually, he asked them, okay, what's your deal? What do you do? How do you affect man? And how can you be thwarted, right? Like, what it is you do to attack people, and what can we do to stop you in your tracks if we recognize somebody is being affected by you? And they all had to come forth and spill the truth to King Solomon, right? Now that's wisdom. So if I look, you listen to some of this stuff and what they were saying, you can actually see this happening in the lives of people, right? Think about that story. No, it wasn't really a story for real, but in the New Testament, it tells about that if a house is swept, it was given an analogy, story, whatever. It was telling a story, parable, about demons who had taken up residence inside a person, right? And if the house goes, but it was using like a house, they said a house is full of demons, you go sweep the house clean of all the spirits. But if you don't fill it with good things, I'm just kind of summing it up, giving you the gist of it. But if you don't go and fill that house with good things, the spirit that was kicked out of the house is going to come back sooner or later. He going to check to see, they didn't fill my spot. He can come and see that the house has been swept clean and nobody is there. He going to go and get seven more spirits more wicked than him, and is going to come back and take up residence back in that same house or same person, and this person's latter end will be worse than the first, right? So now understanding that principle that's lying behind that thing, if you see somebody that's full of, let's just say, demon spirits, or they're full of something otherworldly that you know not of, now if you know what you're doing, you can help set that person free. But I would not dare advise you go set that person free if you're not going to help that person fill themselves with life, right? And something to keep them free for when the spirit that you just cast out of this person, when they come back to check and see, can he come back home? He going to see that, oh, it's taken up. Something else residing here that I don't want to hang with. You know, if that person is still kind of aloof out there, when the spirit comes back, you can bring his friends, right? And the state of that person is going to be worse than it was at first. So it's best to leave some people alone if you ain't taking them through the whole process of filling themselves with life. So when that spirit come back to reattach itself to them, it can't find a place, right? Look, so when you read about King Solomon, and if you listen to that, it actually, somebody read it. It's a really good reading, and it's only like 58 minutes and a few seconds long. Like, you can like put it in your ear and go on about your day, go running or walking up the work or something and listen to it. But it's really, it'll keep your attention. All right, so I'll share that today. Again, I know I shared it at least twice. Y'all probably don't remember. You may not have been here when I shared it before, but I shared it again, saying that we will be getting into this today with King Solomon. So let's go ahead, y'all, and get started here with the Shema. It is Saturday, March the 20th, 2021, day 107 of year 3 of reading through the books of the law and the prophets. Another 3-year consecutive day count is day 776. We are reading 1 Samuel chapter 4, 5, and 6, and we're picking up in the Legends of the Jews on page 426, subtitle, The Queen of Sheba. All right, so let's go ahead and get this Shema popping. All right, the Shema is found in Deuteronomy chapter 3. I do recommend that you read the entire chapter. We just kind of pulled out some of the meat of it, but read the whole chapter, right? Hear, therefore, O Israel, and observe to do it, that it may be well with you, and that you may increase mightily, as Yahuwah, the God of our fathers, has promised us in the land that flows with milk and honey. Hear, O Israel, Yahuwah, our God, he is one God. And you shall love Yahuwah your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your might. And these words which I command you this day shall be in your heart. And you shall teach them diligently unto your children, and shall talk of them when you sit in your house, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up. And you shall bind them for a sign upon your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes. And you shall write them upon the posts of your house and on your gates. And Yahuwah commanded us to do these statutes, to fear Yahuwah our God for our good always, that he might preserve us alive as it is at this day. And it shall be our righteousness if we observe to do all these commandments before Yahuwah our God, as he has commanded us. All right, beautiful people. First Samuel chapter 4. All right. First Samuel chapter 4. At that time, Israel was at war with the Philistines. The Israelite army was camped near Ebenezer, and the Philistines were at Aphek. The Philistines attacked and defeated the army of Israel, killing 4,000 men. After the battle was over, the troops retreated to their camp, and the elders of Israel asked, "Why did Yahuwah allow us to be defeated by the Philistines?" Then they said, "Let's bring the ark of the covenant of Yahuwah from Shiloh. If we carry it into battle with us, it will save us from our enemies." So they sent men to Shiloh to bring the ark of the covenant of Yahuwah's heaven of So they sent men to Shiloh to bring the ark of the covenant of the Lord of heaven's armies, who is enthroned between the cherubim. Hophni and Phinehas, the sons of Eli, were also there with the ark of the covenant of Yahuwah. When all the Israelites saw the ark of the covenant of Yahuwah coming into the camp, their shout of joy was so loud that it made the ground shake. "What is going on?" the Philistines asked. "What's all this shouting about in the Hebrew camp?" When they were told it was because the ark of Yahuwah had arrived, they panicked. "The gods have come into their camp," they cried. "This is a disaster. We have never had to face anything like this before. Help, who can save us from these mighty gods of Israel? They are the same gods who destroyed the Egyptians with plagues when Israel was in the wilderness. Fight as never before, Philistines. If you don't, we will become the Hebrew slaves just as they have been ours. Stand up like men and fight." So the Philistines fought desperately, and Israel was defeated again. The slaughter was great. 30,000 Israelite soldiers died that day. The survivors turned and fled to their tents. The ark of Yahuwah was captured, and Hophni and Phinehas, the two sons of Eli, were killed. A man from the tribe of Benjamin ran from the battlefield and arrived at Shiloh later that same day. He had torn his clothes and put dust on his head to show grief. Eli was waiting beside the road to hear the news of the battle, for his heart trembled for the safety of the ark of Yahuwah. When the messenger arrived and told what had happened, an outcry resounded throughout the town. "What is all the noise about?" Eli asked. The messenger rushed over to Eli, who was 98 years old and blind. He said, "Eli, I have just come from the battlefield. I was there this very day." "What happened, my son?" Eli demanded. "Israel has been defeated by the Philistines," the messenger replied. "The people have been slaughtered, and your two sons, Hophni and Phinehas, were also killed, and the ark of Yahuwah has been captured." When the messenger mentioned what happened to the ark of Yahuwah, Eli fell backward from his seat beside the gate. He broke his neck and died, for he was old and overweight. He had been Israel's judge for 40 years. Eli's daughter-in-law, the wife of Phinehas, was pregnant and near her time of delivery when she heard that the ark of Yahuwah had been captured and that her father-in-law and husband were dead. She went into labor and gave birth. She died in childbirth, but before she passed away, the midwives tried to encourage her. "Don't be afraid," they said. "You have a baby boy." But she did not answer or pay attention to them. She named the child Ichabod, which means, "Where is the glory?" For she said, "Israel's glory is gone." She named him this because the ark of Yahuwah had been captured and because her father-in-law and husband were dead. Then she said, "The glory has departed from Israel, for the ark of Yahuwah has been captured." 1 Samuel chapter 5. After the Philistines captured the ark of Yahuwah, they took it from the battleground at Ebenezer to the town of Ashdod. They carried the ark of Yahuwah into the temple of Dagon and placed it beside an idol of Dagon. But when the citizens of Ashdod went to see it the next morning, Dagon had fell with his face to the ground in front of the ark of Yahuwah. So they took Dagon and put him in his place again. But the next morning the same thing happened. Dagon fell face down before the ark of Yahuwah again. This time his head and hands were broken off and were lying in the doorway. Only the trunk of his body was left intact. This is why to this day neither priest of Dagon nor anyone who enters the temple of Dagon in Ashdod will step on its threshold. Then Yahuwah's heavy hand struck the people of Ashdod and the nearby villages with a plague of tumors. When they realized what was happening, they cried out, "We can't keep the ark of Yahuwah of Israel here any longer. He is against us. We will all be destroyed along with Dagon, our God." So they called together the rulers of the Philistine towns and asked, "What should we do with the ark of Yahuwah, the God of Israel?" The rulers discussed it and replied, move it to the town of Gath." So they moved the ark of Yahuwah, the God of Israel, to Gath. But when the ark arrived at Gath, Yahuwah's heavy hand fell upon its men, old and young. He struck them with a plague of tumors, and there was a great panic. So they sent the ark of Yahuwah to the town of Ekron. But when the people of Ekron saw it coming, they cried out, "They are bringing the ark of Yahuwah, the God of Israel, here to kill us too." Like, they ain't had telephones, so somebody must have been running on foot real fast. They were swift of foot, letting people know. Boy, I tell you, information travels fast by word of mouth and foot. Look. The people summoned the Philistine rulers and begged them, "Please send the ark of Yahuwah, the God of Israel, back to its own country, or it will kill us all." For the deadly plague from Yahuwah had already begun, and far great fear was sweeping across the town. Those who didn't die were afflicted with tumors, and the cry from the town arose to heaven. Look, in my footnote here, it says, the Greek and Latin version Vulgate reads tumors and rats. Matter of fact, I read that before, right? Yeah. It wasn't just tumors that appeared, but rats appeared in their land, and death and destruction were throughout the city. That's one of the footnotes. Okay. So if you read some of the older manuscripts, and I remember reading that somewhere in one of the manuscripts I was reading. So when these tumors, like, in the Bible, the canonized Bible, they tell you something. They give you like the gist of the plagues that happened, but it's not giving you the full detail of all the plagues. Like when it's telling you about the plagues in Egypt, as we was reading through the legends of the Jews, we see that a lot of other things were also happening that they didn't mention. They just kind of gave the big 10 that were happening, but they didn't tell you about all these little sub chapters of plagues that was going on through all of this. But we read some of those when we was reading through the legends of the Jews when we got to that part, right? Okay. All right, y'all. So last chapter for the day here, 1 Samuel chapter 6. The ark of Yahuwah remained in Philistine territory 7 months in all. Then the Philistines called to their priests and diviners and asked them, "What should we do about the ark of Yahuwah? Tell us how to return it to its own country." "Send the ark of Yahuwah, the God of Israel, back with a gift," they were told. "Send a guilt offering so the plague will stop. Then if you are healed, you will know that it was his hand that caused the plague." "What sort of guilt offering should we read?" they asked. And they were told, "Since the plague has struck both you and your 5 rulers, make 5 gold tumors and 5 gold rats." See, like right up in here, it tells you about the rats. But see, the previous chapter, it just said tumors. But the footnote, it has, and they also had rats and death and destruction going throughout the land, right? But in the next chapter, it tells you about make 5 gold tumors and 5 gold rats, right? So if you read close enough and you pay attention to some of the footnotes, it'll allude to some of the things that were removed, things that were changed, you know. So a lot of people that's in the habit of fighting over words, and this is it, right? Calm down, people. You don't know everything, right? Don't be one of them people that think you know it all, to know it all. Don't nobody like talk to a know-it-all. Don't do it. Just don't do it. Don't look good on you. And they were told, "Since the plague has struck both you and your 5 rulers, make 5 gold tumors and 5 gold rats, just like those that have ravaged your land. Make these things to show honor to the God of Israel. Perhaps then he will stop afflicting you, your gods, and your land. Don't be stubborn and rebellious as Pharaoh and the Egyptians were." By the time Yahuwah was finished with them, they were eager to let Israel go. "Now, build a new cart and find 2 cows that have just given birth to calves. Make sure the cows have never been yoked to a cart. Hitch the cows to the cart, but shut their calves away from them in a pen. Put the ark of Yahuwah on the cart, and beside it place a chest containing the gold rats and gold tumors you are sending as a guilt offering. And then let the cows go wherever they want. If they cross the border of our land and go to Beth Shemesh, we will know that it was Yahuwah who brought this great disaster upon us. If they do not, we will know it was not his hand that caused the plague. It simply came by chance. I'm about to say, is that our old truck?
Not old. I'm gonna hit this one like that.
Okay.
Got a whole lot of stuff like that.
What you gonna use it for?
I'm just gonna go look. I'm gonna buy no.
Oh.
Just gonna go look.
All right, Mr. Murphy. Okay. That's cool. And they were told, since the plague has struck both you and your 5 rulers. Hold on, I went back up too far. Let me go down. Okay. Then let the cows go wherever they want. If they cross the border of our land and go to Beth Shemesh, we will know that it was Yahuwah that brought this great disaster upon us. If they do not, we will know that it was not his hand that caused the plague. It simply came by chance. So these instructions were carried out. 2 cows were hitched to the cart, and their newborn calves were shut up in a pen. Then the ark of Yahuwah and the chest containing the gold rats and gold tumors were placed on the cart. And sure enough, without veering off in other directions, the cows went straight along the road toward Beth Shemesh, lowing as they went. The Philistine rulers followed them as far as the border of Beth Shemesh. The people of Beth Shemesh were harvesting wheat in the valley, and when they saw the ark, they were overjoyed. The cart came into the field of a man named Joshua and stopped beside a large rock. So the people broke up the wood of the cart for a fire and killed the cows and sacrificed them to Yahuwah as a burnt offering. Several men of the tribe of Levi lifted the ark of Yahuwah and the chest containing the gold rats and gold tumors from the cart and placed them on the large rock. Many sacrifices and burnt offerings were offered to Yahuwah on that day by the people of Beth Shemesh. The 5 Philistine rulers watched all of this and then returned to Ekron that same day. The 5 gold tumors sent by the Philistines as a guilt offering to Yahuwah were gifts from the rulers of Ashdod, Gaza, Ashkelon, Gath, and Ekron. The 5 gold rats represented the 5 Philistine towns and their surrounding villages, which were controlled by the 5 rulers. The large rock at Beth Shemesh, where they set the ark of Yahuwah, still stands in the field of Joshua as a witness to what happened there. But Yahuwah killed 70 men from Beth Shemesh because they looked into the ark of Yahuwah, and the people mourned greatly because of what Yahuwah had done. Who is able to stand in the presence of the Lord, this holy God? They cried out. Where can we send the ark from here? So they sent messengers to the people at Kiriath Jearim and told them, the Philistines have returned the ark of Yahuwah. Come here and get it. All right, y'all. So that was the reading for today. That was 1 Samuel 4, 5, and 6. All right, y'all. So let's go ahead and hop on here to the legend of the Hebrews. That's what it should be. The legends of the Hebrews and not the legends of the Jews, right? And people sometimes when they hear legends, they think, oh, like fairy tale. But no, my G, our ancestors are legends in their own right. They were real people. Now, some of the stories that's passed along and some of the stories even retold in the Bible, some have been a little bit fabricated. But as you learn and grow, right, you learn and grow, you learn how to research and verify information, even some of the canonized information, right? Some of it has been toyed with. Some people don't want to hear that, but you grow a little bit more, you understand, right? Now, Yahuwah's word is infallible, but the book, it has some errors. I'm going to just leave it at that, right? If you can learn how to deal with that, you can grow a little bit more, right? Okay. And, that's it. I ain't gonna say nothing else about that because I'll be talking about that for a little while. It might upset some people, but okay. The Queen of Sheba. All right, y'all. Page 427. If you was here yesterday, you know where we at. All right. the Queen of Sheba. Solomon, it must be remembered, bore rule not only over men, but also over the beasts of the field, the birds of the air, demons, spirits, and the specters of the night. He knew the language of all of them, and they understood his language. Betwalu, Shayla, Nikki, to the risings. Tiffany, you want it though. Look, when Solomon was of good cheer by reason of wine, he summoned the beasts of the field, the birds of the air, the creeping reptiles, the shades. The shades are like, y'all mean I know. Okay, shades are like, okay, let me see if I can explain this in a way that you'll understand it. You know how you have a reflection? Okay, so shades are kind of like reflections of people. Like, I gotta be careful in the way I explain this to y'all. It's almost like demons, right? But people themselves can create. This might sound a little, to some people that don't really quite understand. People can make like shades of themselves, right? But the people who do that are actually tapping into, they're like, thank you, Tiffany, living shadows, right? And I like, they're living shadows, but they're actually living shadows of people here on the earth, right? I know it might sound a little like, oh, this is TV entertainment, but people that dabble into the let's call them occult practices or whatever, they know what a lot of this stuff is, right? They really do, because this stuff is real. And a lot of time when you grow up in the church, the word you really only hear sometimes is demons, and they just kind of lump everything into that category. But if you do a study on it, and if you had any kind of experience with other world entities, you would know that they differ in different areas, right? They're like different classes of them. Okay, that I'll just leave it like that for the moment. Okay, all right. Let me go back up. Solomon, it must be remembered, bore rule not only over men, but also over the beasts of the field, the birds of the air, demons, spirits, and the specters of the night. He knew the language of all of them, and they understood his language. When Solomon was of good cheer, by reason of wine, he summoned the beasts of the field, the birds of the air, the creeping reptiles, the shades, the specters, and the ghosts to perform their dances before the kings, his neighbors, whom he invited to witness his power and greatness. The king's scribes called the animals and the spirits by name, one by one, and they all assembled of their own accord, without fetters or bonds, with no human hand to guide them. On one occasion, the hoopoe was missed from among all the birds. He could not be found anywhere. The king, full of wrath, ordered him to be produced and chastised for his tardiness. The hoopoe appeared and said, O Lord, King of the world, incline thine ear and hearken to my words. 3 months have gone by since I began to take counsel with myself and resolve upon a course of action. I have eaten no food and drunk no water, in order to fly about in the whole world and see whether there is a domain anywhere which is not subject to my lord the king. And I found a city, the city of Ketor in the east. Dust is more valuable than gold there, and silver is like the mud in the streets. Its trees are from the beginning of all time, and they suck up water that flows from the Garden of Eden. The city is crowded with men. On their heads they wear garlands wreathed in paradise. They know not how to fight, nor how to shoot with bow and arrow. Their ruler is a woman. She is called the Queen of Sheba. If now it please thee, O Lord and King, I shall gird my loins like a hero and journey to the city of Ketor and the land of Sheba, Its kings I will fetter with chains, and its rulers with iron bands, and bring them all before my lord the king. The Hupo's speech pleased the king. The clerks of his land were summoned, and they wrote a letter and bound it to the Hupo's wings. The bird rose skyward, uttered his cry, and flew away, followed by all the other birds. And they came to Ketur in the land of Sheba. It was morning, and the queen had gone forth to pay worship to the sun. Suddenly the birds darkened his light. The queen raised her hand and rent her garment, and she was sore astonished. Then the Hupo alighted near her. Seeing that a letter was tied to his wing, she loosed it and read it. And what was written in the letter? From me, King Solomon, peace be with thee, peace with the nobles of thy realm. Know that Yahuwah has appointed me king over the beasts of the field, the birds of the air, the demons, the spirits, and the specters. All the kings of the east and the west come to bring me greetings. If thou wilt come and salute me, I shall show thee great honor, more than to any of the kings that attend me. But if thou wilt not pay homage to me, I shall send out kings, legions, and riders against thee. Thou askest, who are these kings, legions, and riders of King Solomon? The beasts of the field are my kings, the birds my riders, the demons, spirit, and the shades of the night my legions. The demons will throttle you in your beds at night, while the beasts will slay you in the field, and the birds will consume your flesh. Imagine, right? Imagine this type of power coming back to Yahuwah's people. Like, we got our people trying to defend themselves in the streets with guns. Matter of fact, and if you do that, a lot of times it always end up bad for our people, and we get put in jail. But if we have nature take care of this, our hands are free. I mean, technically, we would be controlling it, and we would be the direct cause of it. But as to the human eyes, our hands would be free, right? I'm just saying. But I'm not saying that for y'all to learn how to go do some of this stuff and start doing devious stuff in the streets. Don't do that, right? Just don't. Be upright and holy in all that you do. Look, I learned about look, bruh. Is Jonathan here today? Look, on YouTube, look. I've watched a couple of videos of some of our people who are in Africa who have had some truth passed down to them from our ancestors, and some of the things that have happened that's widely known by people who are still in the regions, right? Listen. So they said when not everybody was captured, right? There were a few who had gotten away when the land was invaded, right? Look, I'm going to just drop a little bit of something on you. There were some supernatural things that were happening, right? There were some of our people who were so in tune with the Most Holy, who they themselves were also in tune with nature, that they also could control the animals. Look, you can go and pull up videos on YouTube. You can go Google this. You will see some people, you will see them like walking down the street with lions, like they're their dogs. They didn't have chains on them. These pictures were not Photoshopped. I know in this Photoshop age where we live today, a lot of like, oh yeah, that was Photoshopped in. And some stuff is, right? But you got to kind of backtrack and do some history of things, right? There are people that understand. They understand nature. They understand these bodies, right? They understand the process of dematerializing the body and rematerializing the body. Like, I know this may sound to some people like, oh, a bunch of hocus pocus, but I'm telling you, it's not. If you understand nature and you science, right? But you understand the laws of nature. And if you put your body back into its natural state of what it should be, There are some things that would seem supernatural to people who do not understand the laws and principles by which this world was created and by how it works, right? The frequencies and different things like that. And I said all that to say that some people who understood these things, who were a little more learned than others, they were able to dematerialize. Some of them were able to dematerialize themselves or make themselves invisible, so to speak, right? And get away from the capture of those who were capturing us. There were some of us who had control over the animals. Not like you hold a dog on the chain talking about sick 'em, but they had control over the animals, whereby the lions and the different animals were fighting them off, so giving them a chance to run away. I'm telling you, go check into some of this stuff, y'all. I'm telling you. Very few of our people, at least here, those of us in captivity, have knowledge of these things, because a lot of that knowledge, it was shut off from us. But those who are still, or who have been back, or have been reacclimated to their roots, they have begun to learn some of these things, right? Now, here's another thing that I learned, right? Now, you also have to realize that our people, because we lived a more a natural state of life, we were more in tune with the Most Holy, and we understood, our ancestors understood about herbs and different things on how to heal the body. We have the herbalists with natural herbalists. Think about they're Dr. Sabies. Like, a lot of our people were Dr. Sabies and stuff, right? So you also have to realize, with our captors knowing that, they also began to find out real quick that we knew also the plants and the herbs that would kill your hind parts too, right? And so that's where the big thing they started saying, they started calling it witchcraft, when it wasn't witchcraft at all. They would burn our people literally at the stake if they found out they were practicing witchcraft, but it wasn't witchcraft. They were mixing up herbs, because we were responsible for preparing some of the food, and they knew how to prepare massive food with some of the herbs that would take a toll on the body and kill massive, right? So there were a lot of things that were put in place, and as y'all begin to find out some of this stuff, I'm like, oh, snap, my G. So they kind of cut our people off from a lot of this information. Why? Because they were trying to save their own butts. They didn't want to die. We had more knowledge and wisdom of them, of nature, and what we could do with nature. So they labeled it witchcraft. They burned you at the stake. They instilled fear in our people, till we were so far removed from our knowledge and what we understood that none of our, I ain't gonna say none of our people, because our people are returning to the natural state of life and learning about the herbs and all these things, because they didn't want to die. They wanted complete control over all of us, and they didn't want us sneaking up on them in the night, or just up in their face. Here you go, Master. They've got and cooked a good meal for you, Master. You need anything else? We said, go ahead. I get you some more, Master. You want some more? Master sitting there like, it's good. Master be dead in about 2 hours. Round up the plantation. This our land. Oh boy, I'm telling you, look. Tiffany said, if we can watch some of these superhero movies, we probably should wonder where these ideas came from. They are not original. All these ideas, although they put a little bit of twist on some of these things, if you understand some of the history and some of the stuff that was going on, you can clearly tell they have taken from history and they add a little bit of their imagination on it. So they mix truth with lies, thereby, and they put it out as entertainment, and thereby sending a lot of people off in a direction that's not true. Like, they give you truth and error mixed together, so you can't tell the difference, right? But those of us that know, we know, right? And it's all through the movies. It's all through entertainment, and people are none the wiser, right? Look. Okay, let me get back to this. Let me go back. I'm going to go back to reading King Solomon. I'll start reading his letter again. And what was written in the letter from me, King Solomon. Like, they didn't even know who me was. From me, King Solomon. Peace be with thee. Peace with the nobles of thy realm. Know that Yahuwah has appointed me king over the beasts of the field, the birds of the air, the demons, the spirits, and the specters. All the kings of the east and the west come to bring me greetings. If thou wilt come and salute me, I shall show thee great honor, more than to any of the kings that attend me. But if thou wilt not pay homage to me, I will send out my kings, legions, and riders against thee. Thou askest, who are these kings, legions, and riders of King Solomon? The beasts of the field are my kings, the birds are my riders, the demons, spirit, and the shades of the night my legions. The demons will throttle you in your beds at night, while the beasts will slay you in the field. The birds will consume your flesh. When the queen of Sheba had read the contents of the letter, she again rent her garment, and she sent word to her elders and her princes, know you not what Solomon has written to me? They answered, we know nothing of King Solomon and his dominion we regard as naught. But their words did not reassure the queen. She assembled all the ships of the sea and loaded them with the finest kinds of wool and with pearls and precious stones. Together with these, she sent Solomon 6,000 youths and maidens born in the same year, in the same month, on the same day, in the same hour, all of equal stature and size, all clothed in purple garments. What kind of nation was this? This was a beautiful people. Look. Together with these, she sent Solomon 6,000 youths and maidens born in the same year, in the same month, on the same day, in the same hour, all of equal stature and size, all clothed in purple garments. They bore a letter to King Solomon as follows. From the city of Ketor to the land of Israel is a journey of 7 years. As it is thy wish and behest that I visit thee, I shall hasten to be in Jerusalem at the end of 3 years. When the time of her arrival drew nigh, Solomon sent Benaiah, the son of Jehoiada, to meet her. Benaiah was like unto the flush in the eastern sky at the break of day, like unto the evening star that outshines all others, like unto the lily growing by the brooks of water. This was a beautiful man. When the queen caught sight of him, she descended from her chariot to do him honor. Benaiah asked her why she left her chariot. Art thou not King Solomon? She questioned in turn. Benaiah replied, Not King Solomon am I, only one of his servants that stand in his presence. Thereupon the queen turned to her noble and said, If you have not beheld the lion, at least you have seen his lair. And if you have not beheld King Solomon, at least you have seen the beauty of him that stands in his presence. Whew. Benaiah conducted the queen to Solomon, who had gone to sit in a house of glass to receive her. The queen was deceived by an illusion. She thought the king was sitting in water, and as she stepped across to him, she raised her garment to keep it dry. On her bare feet, the king noticed hair, and he said to her, Thy beauty is the beauty of a woman, but thy hair is masculine. Hair is an ornament to a man, but it disfigures a woman. Girl, they must have been super fine. Look, where is this nation? Can we take a field trip? I got my binoculars. Look, let me stop playing. On her bared feet, the king noticed hair, and he said to her, Thy beauty is the beauty of a woman, but thy hair is masculine. Hair is an ornament to a man, but it disfigures a woman. Then the queen began and said, I have heard of thee and thy wisdom. If now I inquire of thee concerning a matter, wilt thou answer me? He replied, Yahuwah giveth wisdom. Out of his mouth cometh knowledge and understanding. Then she said to him, she about to start giving him riddles, y'all. Shalom, mom, shalom. Listen here, look. This is her first riddle she give to King Solomon. Look, I'm going to pause and see if y'all can get this. Listen. And if y'all got the book, don't answer it. Look. I'm gonna wait a minute or so. Listen, here's the parable. She then said to him, 7 there are that issue, and 9 that enter. 2 yield the draught, and 1 drinks. Said he to her, oh, boom, let me stop. Okay, I'm going to read it again. 7 are there that issue, and 9 that enter. 2 yield the draught, and 1 drinks. Go. I know everybody probably like, what does that even mean? Is that even English? Are you reading old English? But I'll wait for it just for a second. Okay. I'm only going to do that one time, and I'm going to keep reading. Okay, Tiffany said, waterways. Nope. Listen, I'm going to read it again. I'm going to keep going. Listen to this, y'all. 7 there are that issue, ISSUE, like issue forth from a place, okay? 7 there are that issue, and 9 that enter. 2 yield the draught, and 1 drinks. Said he to her, 7 are the days of a woman's defilement. 7 days for your cycle, ladies. Listen. 7 there are that issue. King Solomon said, that's 7 days a woman on her cycle, her period. She on her period. She on her period, right? Look. Said he to her, 7 are the days of a woman's defilement, and 9 months of pregnancy. 9 that enter, 7 that issue, 9 that enter. The 7 is a woman's period. She's on for 7 days. Give or take. You know, some women's a little different. You changing, whatever. 9 that enter. And 9 the months of pregnancy. And it says 2 years the draught. 2 yields the draught. 2 are the breasts that yield the draught, right? And 1 drinks. And the 1 child drinks it. So this parable, Queen Solomon gave, the Queen of Sheba gave to King Solomon was about a woman. King Solomon was very well versed in women, if she had not known. Yeah, he had a whole harem full of women, right? So he got that. That was probably nothing for him. I read it again. I keep going to all these other ones. She got a whole bunch of them. We got like 22. Okay, so I'm going to read this again. I'm going to keep going. 7 there are that issue, and 9 that enter. 2 yield the draught, and 1 drinks. Said he to her, 7 are the days of a woman's defilement, and 9 the months of pregnancy. 2 are the breasts that yield the draught, or milk, and the 1 is the child that drinks it. Whereupon she said to him, thou art wise. King Solomon was like, no, I got a lot of hoes. Let me stop. Okay, let me keep going. All right. Number 2. This is her second one. Then she questioned him further. A woman said to her son, thy father is my father, and thy grandfather my husband. Thou art my son, and I am thy sister. We can tell this was given, like, if you heard people, they give this riddle. They said, and when I read this, I thought about this. It's kind of like a spin off of this. They said, okay, a father and his son was in an accident, and they rushed the boy to the hospital. Then the surgeon comes in and says, I cannot operate on him, for he is my son, right? That's the thing that when I first read it, so I was like, oh, so they got little things that they make up, but they do a spin off of wisdom and things from ancient manuscripts. I'm like, clearly that was taken from this. And the answer to the riddle, well, the surgeon, but wasn't it his dad that brought him in there? Because the way society has moved us to think or trained us to think, nobody would have ever thought that the surgeon was a woman. The surgeon was his mother. She said, I cannot operate on him because he's my son. But it was kind of like a trick way that they worded it. They said a father took his son and they went driving. They got into a really bad accident. He was rushed to the hospital. He got into the operating room. The surgeon came in and says, I cannot operate on him because he's my son. Right now, okay, if we had not been trained to think that men run the world. Now, I ain't saying nothing about men. Y'all get what I'm saying for the sake of the example, right? Nobody would have ever thought that, oh, is it possible that the surgeon is a woman, that the surgeon is his mother? And that's what it was. And that stumped a lot of people for a very long time. And they said the surgeon was his mother, right? Okay. All right, let me go ahead. Then she questioned him further. A woman said to her son, thy father is my father, and thy grandfather my husband. Thou art my son, and I am thy sister. Or shortly he said, it was the daughter of Lot who spake thus to her son. Right? Because remember, they got a weird thing going on. They slept with their daddy. So their daddy's child was really their brother, but their sister was their mother. Like, that's like trailer park stuff, right? Okay, let me keep going. Look. She placed a number of males and females of the same stature and garb before him and said, distinguish between them. Forthwith he made a sign to the eunuchs, who brought him a quantity of nuts and roasted ears of corn. The males, who were not bashful, seized them with their bare hands. The females took them, putting forth their gloved hands from beneath their garments, whereupon he exclaimed, those are males and these are females. She bore a number of men to him, some circumcised and others uncircumcised. He asked him to distinguish between them. He immediately made a sign to the high priest, who opened the ark of the covenant, whereupon those that were circumcised bowed their bodies to half their height, while their countenances were filled with the radiance of the Shekinah. The uncircumcised fell prone on their faces. Those, he said, are circumcised. These are uncircumcised. Thou art wise indeed, she exclaimed. She put other questions to him, to all of which he gave replies. Who is he who neither was born nor has died? It is Yahuwah, the Lord of the world. Blessed be he. What land is it that has but once seen the sun? The land upon which, after the creation, the waters were gathered, and the bed of the Red Sea on the day when it was divided. There is an enclosure with 10 doors. When one is open, 9 are shut. When 9 are open, 1 is shut. That enclosure is the womb. The 10 doors are the 10 orifices of man's eyes, ears, nostrils, mouth, the apertures for the discharge of the excreta and the urine, and the navel. When the child is in the embryonic state, the navel is open and all the other orifices are closed. But when it issues forth from the womb, the navel is closed and all the others are open. Just pass out right now. Go ahead. I'm going ahead and douse you with water, get you back up. Let's go. Let's keep going. There is something which living moves not, yet when its head it is cut off, it moves. It's the ships in the sea. I'm going to read that again, because that one kind of went over my head a little bit. I got to think about that a little bit longer. There is something which when living moves not, yet when its head is cut off, it moves. It's the ship in the sea. Okay. If y'all know that, go ahead and explain that to us, sister, because I don't know. I've been trying to get that one. All right. But that's what Solomon's answer was, and apparently it was right. Okay. Which are the 3 that neither ate, nor did they drink, nor did they have bread put into them, yet they saved lives from death. The signet, the cord, and the staff are those three. 3 entered a cave, and 5 came forth from Lot and his 2 daughters and their 2 children. I tell you that trailer park stuff going on. Look. The dead lived, the grave moved, and the dead prayed. What is that? The dead that lived and prayed, Jonah, and the fish, the moving grave. Who were the 3 that ate and drank on the earth, and yet were not born of male and female? The 3 angels who visited Abraham. For Queen Sheba to be so far off, a 7 years journey, she sure knew a whole lot about Israel. Right? Look. 4 entered a place of death and came forth alive, and 2 entered a place of life and came forth dead. The 4 were Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, and the 2 were Nadab and Abihu. Who was he that was born and died not? Elijah and the Messiah. What was that which was not born, yet life was given to it? King Solomon was like, come on now, the golden calf. What is that which is produced from the ground, yet man produces it, while its food is the fruit of the ground? A wick. I would have loved to have been sitting there, all of this just listening, right? Okay. A woman was wedded to 2 and bore 2 sons, yet these 4 had one father. Tamar. Think about it. Judah, he slept with his... Y'all got it. Y'all know the story. Look, okay. A house full of dead. No dead one came among them, nor did a living come forth from them. It is the story of Samson and the Philistines. Everybody should have got that. We just literally got done. But the words probably threw you off a little bit. Okay, next one, number 19, y'all. Number 19. The queen next ordered the saw trunk of a cedar tree to be bought, and she asked Solomon to point out at which end of the root had been and at which the branches. He bade her cast it into the water. When one end sank and the other floated upon the surface of the water. He bade her cast it into the water. When one end sank and the other floated upon the surface of the water. That part which sank was the root, and that which remained uppermost was the branch end. Then she said to him, Thou exceedest in wisdom and goodness the fame which I heard. Blessed be thy God. The last 3 riddles of which the queen of Sheba put to Solomon were the following. What is this? A wooden well with iron buckets, which draw stones and pour out water. The king replied, a rouge tube. What is this? It comes as dust from the earth. Its food is dust. It is poured out like water and lights the house. Naphtha. I don't know what naphtha is. I got to look it up, but apparently it was the right answer. Okay. What is this? It walks ahead of all. It cries out loud and bitterly. Its head is like the reed. It is the glory of noble, the disgrace of the poor. It is the glory of the noble, the disgrace of the poor, the glory of the dead, the disgrace of the living, the delight of birds, the distress of fishes. I'm going to read it again. What is this? It walks ahead of all. It cries out loud and bitterly. Its head is like the reed. It is the glory of the nobles, the disgrace of the poor, the glory of the dead, the disgrace of the living, the delight of birds, the distress of fish? He answered, flax. All right, y'all. So that was the end of that. Now, let's hop on over here to this section, which is the next section. Solomon, the master of the demons. Let's get it. Look. Okay. We already had an hour. Last time I looked up, we was at 28 minutes when we was finishing Samuel. Oh my gosh. Okay. Here we go. Solomon, master of the demons. But Twabu, Alicia, ooh, girl, you came in right at the right time when we talking about this stuff. Look. Solomon, master of the demons. We're on page 429. Just in time. Look. Okay. Never has there lived a man privileged like Solomon to make the demons amenable to his will. Yahuwah endowed him with the ability to turn the vicious power of demons into a power working to the advantage of men. He invented formulas of incantation by which diseases are alleviated, and others by which demons were exorcised so that they were banished forever. Look, and if y'all know, look, I've just done a lot of research on some of these things. But if y'all pay attention to movies, so if y'all watch some of these movies that have that they use magic and they're using incantations, notice they will always speak these incantations in the language of Hebrew, right? Whether you want to call it, I ain't about to fight with you over what type of Hebrew they were speaking. Paleo, was it modern? What is it? I ain't about to listen. The whole point is they were speaking in the Hebrew tongue, right? And if you turn on the subtitles, you can see it'll say Hebrew tongue, or some it may say Latin, right? Okay. But you will notice, and I have some manuscripts and some books on some of these things, and some of these incantations and magical spells that some of these people in the occult places use. Guys, do you realize they are pulling this stuff from the book of Psalms and saying it in the Hebrew tongue? Did y'all know that? Did y'all know that? Remember, they called Moses the master magician. He's known as the master magician in some places. Lisa said, let me get my book. Listen here. I'm telling y'all, some of this stuff that people doing, that they tell y'all, ooh, now mind you, they are taking some of this stuff and trying to cast spells on people to do them harm or to get their stuff. Look, the whole reason why Yahuwah allowed this stuff to be, right? Well, first of all, there was a purpose in all of these things being made, and it was not to harm people, right? The righteous don't use those things to harm people. Y'all watch Doctor Strange, one of my favorite Marvel movies, right? If you ever watch Doctor Strange, you will see that the master, what is her name? The female master, right? Remember the surgeon dude? His hands, he had a very bad accident. I forget what it was, but anyway, his money maker was his hands, because he was a surgeon. He was a top surgeon, best in his field. People come from all around the world to see Doctor Strange, right? But when he got into this little accident or whatever, he lost the use of his hands, right? So he goes to Tibet and he finds the master, because he heard that the master could teach you could be restored to health, all these things, right? So he gets there. Just to make a long story short, if you have not seen Doctor Strange, go watch Doctor Strange, the most recent Doctor Strange Marvel movie. Now, if you go to like Netflix and Amazon Prime, you will see a few different versions. But get the most modern version. You can watch all the other ones, but I'm talking about the most modern version Marvel movie, right? That one. Matter of fact, I don't even remember Doctor Strange. I remember to post the link. I'll post it down there, so if you haven't seen it, go watch it. And if you already seen it, just watch it again. It's always good. But anyway, make a long story short, I was talking about the hidden powers or magic, right? And hear what I say when I say this, it's not really magic at all, y'all. It's understand the elements and how the world was created, right? Okay, so he goes to Tibet. He finds the master. He was shocked to find out that the master was a woman, because the guy that was sitting in her chair was one of her attendants, and he started talking to him like he was the master, and she answered the question. He's like, oh. Then the servant got up out the chair and walked on out, and he was like, And for one, it kind of took him aback because, first of all, he was one of those type of men where men rule the world. I do not submit myself to the likes of little dainty women, right? He had that type of attitude. This what you want to call it? What you call men like that? Darn it. Male chauvinist, right? He was one of those type dudes, right? Okay, so first of all, he had to get over this whole thing that she was a woman who had all this wisdom, and surely this is a joke being played on me. He was like, okay, whatever. Look, listen, I came here to figure out this. Can you help me, right? And so she just dropped a little wisdom on him. He's like, wait, what are you talking about? The little chakra pamphlets that they sell in the hospital gift store? He said, ha ha, big joke. I ain't come here for this. And so she said, and so she just gave him a little bit of taste of what it would be like to bring himself in line and align with nature and with God, right? And she just touched him on his head like this, and just for a second conveyed some of that energy to open him up so he could get a little taste of even his own inner world. And it takes you through this whole like, and he like see the universe and all these things. And she took her hand off him. He like, and she did it again, and it was a little bit deeper of experience. And by this time, he was on the floor, on his knees, and he was like, teach me. And she said, no, and walked away. And they took him and they threw him out the house because he wouldn't believe that you don't believe nothing. Your way of thinking, how you've been raised in the Western world, there have been constant lies, and you think you are, and you think you know more than what you truly know. You know nothing about this world in which you were born into, right? I'm like, whoa, you better say it. I love this movie, all right? Okay, let me get to the point. Look, so what happened was that you will find out through there, and it's towards the beginning part, right? So there were some students who came to sit under the master as they learned about this world and where we truly live and how the body operates, right? And so as they began to learn about the elements of the earth and how to kind of bend the elements, they decided they knew all they needed to know, and they was going to go out here and start their own little we're going to be the world's saviors, right? But they only took as much as they knew up until their training point at this time. So they thought they had gotten all the information that they needed. They got just enough to go out there and be rogue, right? And so what happens is they call it, in the movie, I think it's called the dark magic. If I remember correctly, the dark magic, right? They talk about the good magic and the dark magic, right? And so the students who were still there under the master's teaching and were going through all the training and all the rituals as they were growing, she taught them to stay away from the dark side of the magic, right? And to never use it. But what happened was at the beginning, when the vagabond students, they kind of flipped the world inside out, and like this it's like a inverted world, and it was creating havoc. The master showed up, but also a couple of the students that were actually going through the process of doing things right, they were there too, and they saw all of this, and they saw the master show up, and they saw the master using the dark magic, right? But they didn't understand. And so as it got towards the end, they were really upset. And some of the students said, well, your master lied to you. And they said you couldn't do this, but yet your master is using a dark magic behind your back. And they couldn't deny that because they saw them. They saw with their own eyes the master who told them to stay away from the dark magic. They actually saw her using the dark magic, but they didn't understand what was going on, right? And I immediately knew as I watched it. So what happened was that the rogue students who were using the dark magic, and I began to understand it more as I began to look, just so you know, you're going to hear from me offline. I know, Tiffany, look, hold on. So as we read through Solomon, and as he starts talking about the demons and talking to them, and he's telling them to reveal the power that they have and how they can be thwarted, some of this magic can only be brought back into alignment with some of the other magic that would seem dark. But it's not so much that it's dark It just works at a higher level or a higher principle to where it's not something that you always go to, right? You only tap into it if you need to bring something back in balance. So what happened was the students who were not in the habit of using the dark magic, when they saw the master who said don't use the dark magic, when they saw the master using the dark magic, they automatically assumed that, first of all, they were taken back by it, like, wait, what? And then the rogue students who went and talked to them and say, see, your master telling you this, but your master doing this behind your back. So they were upset about this, and they talked to her. They said, you're using the dark magic, but you tell us not to use it. You're lying to us. And has all of this been a lie? And she began to explain to them. She said, and I'm going to just kind of sum it up. You do not understand, right? She wasn't using the dark magic just to use the dark magic. What she was doing, she took it, and what the rogue students had done to like invert the world, excuse me, and turn it upside down, which was going to destroy a lot of people. She had to take some of that dark magic on a higher level and grab it and bring it all and bring the elements back under control so that there was a balance, and to undo what had been done so that nobody would be hurt, right? I'm like, boy, the principles flowing throughout this movie is friggin' amazing. Y'all have to go watch Doctor Strange, right? And so if you see that, I'm like, clearly they knew this stuff. They are pulling this stuff. They got to have got this information from studying King Solomon and some of the things that has not been like shared with the masses as such, right? They didn't just like put it out. They put it out there, but they quietly put it out there in books, right? But it's there. And there are a lot of people tapping into this, taking pieces of this stuff, doing incantations and rituals and everything, throwing things all out of whack, harming themselves, bringing curses on themselves, walking around here looking crazy because they done something that that they didn't know how to fix. So now they're going to all kind of gurus and witch doctors to undo the spell and incantation they didn't ignorantly spoke on themselves. I'm like, woof, y'all better be careful about what y'all doing in this piece. Look, and when you break it down and you go back into some of these things, they are using the Hebrew translation of Psalms, right? They're using the Psalm, the book, the Bible that we carry around. They're actually taking this and putting it into use, into the incantations and things that they are speaking out here, getting themselves in trouble, my G. Right, listen, y'all ever wonder why, if you're tired, or not you're tired, if you can't go to sleep, if you pick up the Bible, like the fastest way you'll get to sleep is putting on the book of Psalms, right? The book of Psalms, because now I completely understand, right? Because it is, and like I said, I hate to use this word magic, but there is literal living power. I don't care that it's even translated into English. The power is still there, right? It will literally take away the spirit of fear, and it will calm you, and it will put you to sleep. If you understand some of these underlying principles about what's inside of this book that you carry, your life would change. Okay, so I just want to say all that because of this right here, what we about to read. Solomon, master of the demons. Okay, so let me go back because I was only like 2 sentences down. Okay, let's go back. I just want to share all that and to let y'all know that people is doing this today, and they passing around magic books, getting themselves in trouble, right? And because they don't really understand what they are doing. Like, they're getting it for selfish reasons and doing this. Remember, I was telling you about the book of Raziel, and all through, remember the book of Raziel, we learned about it at the very beginning. This is where King Solomon learned all his wisdom. It was passed down from Adam. Abraham knew it. That's how Moses understood some of this stuff. Passed all the way down to King Solomon. But King Solomon was able to withdraw way more wisdom than any of the other patriarchs and ancestors before him, right? But the book of Raziel tells you, although I have a truncated version of it, it tells you all the way through, you must remain holy through all these things, right? And you are not to use these to harm others, but you can use it to protect yourself and your loved ones in a way that you're not harming others. But you must remain pure and holy through and through. Otherwise, you gonna find yourself in some trouble, right? I'm telling you, all heaven and earth will stand behind you and come to your aid if you are pure and holy. And you cry out, and they are literally standing there with you. You just can't see them with your physical eyes. But if you would open your physical eyes just for a moment, just like what it said when Elisha was talking to his servant, he said, Father, open his eyes so he can see that there are more with us than they that be with them. Right? Look, this is real stuff, y'all. I got some couple stories I ain't gonna share with you right now, but look. All right, let's go. Solomon, master of the demons. Never has there lived a man privileged like Solomon to make the demons amenable to his will. Yahuwah endowed him with the ability to turn the vicious power of demons into a power working to the advantage of men. He invented formulas of incantation by which diseases are alleviated, and others by which demons were exorcised so that they were banished forever. As his personal attendants, he had spirits and demons who he could send hither and thither on the instant. He could grow tropical plants in Palestine because his ministering spirits secured water for him from India. As the spirits were subservient to him, so also the animals. He had an eagle upon whose back... Hold on. Let me see if y'all can figure this out. As the spirits were subservient to him, so also the animals. He had an eagle upon whose back he was transported to the desert and back again in one day, to build there the city called Tadmor. In the Bible, this city must not be confounded with the later Syrian city of Palmyra, also called Tadmor. It was situated near the mountains of darkness, the trysting place of the spirits and demons. Thither the eagle would carry Solomon in the twinkling of an eye, and Solomon would drop a paper inscribed with a verse among the spirits to ward off evil from himself. Then the eagle would reconnoiter. This word throw me off, y'all. It's like reconnaissance, but reconnoiter the mountains of darkness until he had spied out the spot in which the fallen angels Azza and Azael lie chained with iron fetters, a spot which no one, not even a bird, may visit. When the eagle found the place, he would take Solomon under his left wing and fly to the two angels. Through the power of the ring, having the holy name engraved upon it, which Solomon put into the eagle's mouth, Azza and Azael were forced to reveal the heavenly mysteries to the king. The demons were of greatest service to Solomon during the erection of the temple. It came about in this wise. When Solomon began building the temple, it once happened that a malicious spirit snatched away the money and the food of one of the king's favorite pages. Reconnoiter. I think that's how you say it. Yeah. But it's spelled different. It's RECONNOITRE. Like, I'm gonna really have to look that up, and I'm gonna have to press play on the dictionary when I Google it so they can say the word and I can repeat it the right way. Because now I just screwed this word all up. But I know it comes from reconnaissance. That I do know. Reconnoiter. Forgive me, y'all. I'm not that perfect of speech yet. Okay, look. The demons were of greatest service to Solomon during the erection of the temple. It came about in this wise. When Solomon began the building of the temple, it once happened that a malicious spirit snatched away the money and the food of one of the king's favorite pages. This occurred several times, and Solomon was not able to lay hold on the male factor. The king besought Rex Conniter. I know that helps me out. Rex Conniter. Rex Conniter. He broke it up into syllables for me. Thank you. Am I saying the syllable right? Rex Conniter. Rex Conniter. Did I say that right? Rex Conniter. Okay, I'm going to come back to it. The king besought Yahuwah fervently to deliver the wicked spirit into his hand. His prayer was granted. The archangel Michael appeared before him and gave him a small ring having a seal consisting of an engraved stone. And he said to him, "Take, O Solomon, king, son of David, the gift which Yahuwah, the highest Zebaoth, have sent unto thee. With it thou shalt lock up all the demons of the earth, male and female, and with their help they shall build up Jerusalem. But thou must wear this seal of Yahuwah, and this engraving of the seal of the ring sent thee is a pentelpha. So you know King Solomon's ring, right? So this is the ring that Freemasons use. Well, they call it King Solomon's ring, although it's not the actual ring. But this is what it's representing for those that don't know. King Solomon's ring had a lot of power, and it was his protection. Okay, Uncle Nat. Okay. All right. But thou must wear this seal of Yahuwah, and this engraving of the seal of the ring sent thee is a pentalpha. Armed with it, Solomon called up all the demons before him, and he asked each of them in turn his or her name, as well as the name of the star or constellation or zodiac sign of the particular angel to the influence of which is subject. One look. Guys, even the constellation system and the zodiac and stuff, all that stuff, they pull from here, from Yahuwah's people. Remember, Israel was in Egypt for a long time, right? So when you hear about Egyptian science and stuff like that, a lot of, remember, Egypt was there for a few hundred years. Like 200 something years just living, and Egypt was just like this. It didn't become great till Israel had gotten there. So all the inventions, and the reason why Egypt became like this world power at the time is because our ancestors were there. Israel was there. All these great ideas and all these things was built, and it come from Israel. So a lot of time when people talking about Egyptian science and stuff, a lot of times it's not Egyptian science, something that's other from us. And you see like some of the pharaohs and all that. Oh my goodness, hold on, I wish I had my book down here. I had like a whole epiphany come to me the other day when me and my son was standing down here in the kitchen. My second oldest son, Jeremiah. So y'all know the book BlackRoots Science, right? If you actually purchase it from Amazon, there is a cover of it seemed like of an Egyptian head of Pharaoh, right? And Jeremiah has dreads, and so when he wear his head wrap, or he covers his head, there is like a bump here, and he brings it down, and his thing it comes down like this. And when he stood there, I caught a glimpse of him and the book at the same time. Like he came down to the kitchen while my book was sitting right here, and I looked. He stood right. He was talking to me, and I just happened to look down. I'm like, oh shoot! I'm like, oh, thank you, babe. Look, this right here, right? Look, y'all see my head wrap? You see how it comes down over my shoulder, the two red pieces? Look at this. Jeremiah's do-rag that he had on had his head dreads up in a bump like this, and it came down just like this. I said, my G, you look just like this Pharaoh right here. You know, I was like, look at this. Like, I would like, it just dawned on me. I'm like, wait a minute. That's right. Don't do that, Tootie. Israel was in Egypt. So all this Egyptian science and stuff that they're learning, granted, Egypt had some magic of their Stop, Bella. Some magic of their own that they were using, but a lot of the greatness that came to Egypt came from our people, from our ancestors, right? So when you see these pictures, a lot of times it's a depiction of Israel who was there, and they kind of took on some of the things that we did as Israel, right? Look at that. Look at this. My hair not bumped up like that, but my son's with his dreads, you can see it looks just like this. I darn near passed out in the floor. I'm like, okay. All right, so, but let's go back to this real quick. All right. Take, O Solomon, king, son of David, the gift of which Yahuwah, the Lord God, the highest Zebaoth, which have sent unto thee. With it thou shalt lock up all the demons of the earth, male and female, and with their help thou shalt build up Jerusalem. But thou must wear the seal of Yahuwah, and this engraving of the seal of the ring sent thee is a Patalpha. Armed with it, Solomon called up all the demons before him, and he asked of each in turn his or her name, as well as the name of the star or constellation or zodiacal sign of the particular angel to influence of which each is subject. So even the zodiacs, and they call them horoscopes, and they say, oh, stay away from this. No, they learned this wisdom from Israel, and they just take the wisdom, like I said, and they chop it up and send it to different areas of the world. Now you got this religion, and you got this religion, but all these religions are not really religions at all. This wisdom comes from Yahuwah's people, because when we were scattered, so was all that we knew, and our influence, all the revelations that Yahuwah has given to us. They divided not just us and the land. They use us as their slaves. They took our land, and all of our inventions, everything, they take it and use it for themselves, right? So not only were we scattered and the land was parted, but also our wisdom was scattered and sent throughout all the different areas of the world. Now you got Israel practicing India practicing some of the things that belong to Israel. You got these different places practicing things. They change the names. They call it witchcraft. They call it voodoo. They call it hoodoo. Not to be confused with real voodoo, because there is real voodoo out there. Stay away from that. Don't do that. Don't do that. I'm talking about the real wisdom Yahuwah has given to his people, right? All right, so all these things, even like the zodiac and all these things come from our wisdom. And King Solomon, a lot of this stuff he had, whereby he understood the clock in the sky. They call it the zodiac signs. And think about how some of these psychics, or some of these people who can do palm readings and read the stars, they kind of understand that some of them may understand, but they can read you, they can tell you about your life by just getting the time and date that you were born, the month that you were born. Because if they understand the clock in the sky, they understand when we are born in certain generations at certain times, it will align us with certain things. And you can literally tell the destiny of a person if you understand the clock in the sky and at what time they were dropped down here into this earth. My G, don't play with me. Look, I'm telling you, y'all got to know this stuff. All this stuff was taken from us, but as we're returning to Yahuwah and to his commands, he's revealing all this stuff. He's bringing all this information back to us again, right? Look, okay, I'm going to stop cutting in. Let me finish reading this. Look, but thou must wear the seal of Yahuwah, and this engraving of the seal of the signet ring sent to thee is the Patalpha. Armed with it, Solomon called up all the demons before him, and he asked each of them in turn his or her name, as well as the name of the star or the constellation or zodiac sign, and of the particular angel to the influence of which each is subject. One after another, the spirits were vanquished and compelled by Solomon to aid in the construction of the temple. Orneus, the vampire spirit who had maltreated Solomon's servant, was the first demon to appear. He was sent to the task of cutting stones near the temple, and Solomon bade Orneus come, and he gave him the seal, saying, away with thee, and bring me hither the prince of all the demons. Orneus took the finger ring and went to Beelzebul, who has kingship over all the demons, or Beelzebub, right? He said to him, Hither, Solomon calls thee. But Beelzebub, having heard, said to him, Tell me, who is this Solomon of whom thou speakest to me? There Ornias threw the ring at the chest of Beelzebub, saying, Solomon the king calls thee. But Beelzebub cried aloud with a mighty voice, and shot out a great burning flame of fire. And he arose and followed Ornias, and came to Solomon. Brought before the king, he promised him to gather all the unclean spirits unto him. Beelzebub proceeded to do so, beginning with Anoskeles, that had a very pretty shape and the skin of a fair-hued woman. He was followed by Asmodeus, both giving an account of themselves. Beelzebub reappeared on the scene, and in his conversion with Solomon declared that he alone survived with the angels who had come down from heaven. He reigned over all who were in Tartarus, and had a child in the Red Sea, which on occasion comes up to Beelzebub and reveals to him what he has done. Next, the demon of the ashes, Teraphos, appeared, and after him a group of 7 female spirits, who declared themselves to be of 36 elements of the darkness. Hold on. Let me make sure y'all. I'm sorry. Okay, I got 34%. All right. We almost done. Okay. Let me go back a couple sentences. I just had to check and make sure my phone wasn't about to die on me. Okay. Next, the demon of the ashes, Teraphros, appeared, and after him a group of 7 female spirits who declared themselves to be of the 36 elements of the darkness. Solomon bade them dig the foundation of the temple, for the length of whom it was 250 cubits, and he ordered them to be industrious. And with one united murmur of protest, they began to perform the task enjoined. Solomon bade another demon come before him, and there was brought to him a demon having all the limbs of a man, but without a head. The demon said to Solomon, I am called Envy, for I delight to devour heads, being desirous to secure for myself a head. But I do not eat enough, and I am anxious to have such a head as thou hast. A hound-like spirit, whose name was Rabados, followed, and he revealed to Solomon a green stone, useful for the adornment of the temple. A number of other male and female demons appeared, among them the 36 world rulers of the darkness, whom Solomon commanded to fetch water to the temple. Some of these demons he condemned to do the heavy work on the construction of the temple. Others he shut up in prison, and others again he ordered to wrestle with fire in the making of gold and silver, sitting down by lead and spoon, and to make ready places for the other demons in which they should be confined. After Solomon, with the help of the demons, had completed the temple, the rulers, among them the Queen of Sheba, who was a sorceress, came far and near to admire the magnificence and art of the building, and no less the wisdom of its builder. One day, an old man appeared before Solomon to complain of his son, whom he accused of having been so impious as to raise his hand against his father and give him a blow. The young man denied the charge, but his father insisted that his life be held forfeit. Suddenly, Solomon heard loud laughter. It was the demon Ornias, who was guilty of the disrespectful behavior. Rebuked by Solomon, the demon said, I pray thee, O king, it was not because of thee I laughed, but because of this ill-starred old man and the wretched youth, his son. For after 3 days, his son will die untimely, and the old man desires to make away with him foully. Solomon delayed his verdict for several days, and when after 5 days he summoned the old father to his presence, it appeared that Onias had spoken the truth. After some time, Solomon revealed a letter from Artaxerxes, the king of Arabia. He begged the Hebrew king to deliver his land from an evil spirit who was doing great mischief, who could not be caught and made harmless because he appeared in the form of wind. Solomon gave his magic ring and a leather bottle to one of his slaves and sent him into Arabia. The messenger succeeded in confining the spirit in a bottle. Anybody can figure that part out? This whole concept of the genie in a bottle. Aladdin. Think about it. The magic lamp. Look, I'm telling y'all, all this stuff they put out here, they don't make up none of it. They pull it from ancient manuscripts, my G. Look. The messenger succeeded in confining the spirit in a bottle. A few days later, when Solomon entered the temple, he was not a little astonished to see the bottle walk towards him. Dad gave you this? Okay. A few days later, when Solomon entered the temple, he was not a little astonished to see a bottle walk toward him and bow down reverently before him. It was the bottle in which the spirit was shut up. This same spirit once did Solomon a great service. Assisted by demons, he raised a gigantic stone out of the Red Sea. Neither human beings nor demons could move it, but he carried it to the temple where it was used as a cornerstone. Through his own fault, Solomon forfeited the power to perform miraculous deeds when the divine spirit had conferred upon him. He fell in love with the Jebusite woman Sunmanites. The priests of Molech and Raphan, the false gods she worshipped, advised her to reject his suite unless he paid homage to these gods. At first, Solomon was firm, but when the woman bade him to take 5 locusts and crush them in his hand in the name of Molech, he obeyed her. At once, he was bereft of the divine spirit, of his strength and his wisdom, and he sank so low that to please his beloved, he built temples to Baal and Rephaim. They tell us about the wisdom of King Solomon and all that he did, but they don't tell us about, well, they tell us that some of the things that he began to offer sacrifices to the women he loved, that guys, right? You would say, don't do that. Do not marry these outside women that are not of us, because they would turn your heart away from me, right? And that's what happened. It said at first, King Solomon stood strong, but the more beauty and the more wiles the women are using against you and everything, it's like, oh, I just got to crush some locusts in my hand. That's all I got to do. She said, yeah, but do it in the name of Molech too. King Solomon was like, what could this hurt? I got booty to get, right? He crushed the locust in his hand in the name of Molech, and it said at once he was bereft of all his wisdom, his good sense, and his divine spirit that rested on him, that was given to him from the Most Holy at once. Let me read it again. Through his own fault, Solomon forfeited the power to perform miraculous deeds which the divine spirit had conferred upon him. He fell in love with the Jebusite woman Sunmanites, the priests of Molech and Raphan, the false gods she worshipped, advised her to reject his suite unless he paid homage to these gods. At first, Solomon was firm, but when the woman bade him take 5 locusts and crush them in his hand in the name of Molech, he obeyed her. At once, he was bereft of the divine spirit, of his strength and his wisdom, and he sank so low that to please his beloved, he built temples to Baal and Rephan. And we are going to pause right here today. And lost it all. He risked it all and lost it all, y'all. So when we're reading Ecclesiastes, know this. Ecclesiastes was written after, now mind you, he came back to his senses a great while later. But we about to read how deep King Solomon sank to where nobody recognized this great king, and he was treated like a slave. So all our men out here that's waking up just to go right back to sleep and taking some of these ways that King David and King Solomon did, thinking, oh, we can do this. We can have as many women as we can take care of. Yes, booty tonight, booty tomorrow. Listen, they remove all this other stuff. Y'all about to find yourself in the same trap that they found themselves, bereft of all your wisdom and strength and power, my G. Don't do it. Get the full story, right? And some of them, they out here real cocky about it, too. I'm like, yeah, go ahead. Keep on if you want to. I got a little bit more of this story than apparently you have at this moment. And it would behoove you to read some of this and see what this led them to. You don't want to go there. You don't want to go there. So when we read through this, you're going to understand every single word that King Solomon said when he wrote the book of Ecclesiastes. He said he found that there's no better than to serve y'all, eat, drink, and be happy, right? Look, so, okay, I ain't gonna tell you no more. We about to get into it. Y'all can read ahead if you want to, but if you want to wait and be in suspense with us, because we ain't gonna be here tomorrow. It's gonna be a whole day in waiting, y'all. So we won't be back here until Monday, because tomorrow is a Sabbath, and we rest, my G. All right, so with that being said, we done for the day. We'll pick up here Monday at 7:15, right? Look, I'm so good. Okay, I'll fix that. All right, y'all. So we read today 1 Samuel chapter 4, 5, and 6. And we started in the Legends of the Jews on page 427, and we paused on page 431. This is just going to get better and better, y'all. So we're going to pick this up, like I said, Sunday. Remember, I'm going to post a book with some of the details with King Solomon talking to the demons. It's an audio on YouTube. But you can also, I'm going to see if I can find a PDF version too, if you would much rather read it. But if you're kind of busy and you just want to let it play in your ear so you can listen, I promise you, no exaggeration, I've listened to it at least 7 times, right? That's no exaggeration. Probably give or take a little more, but 7 for sure, I know, right? Because it's only like 58 minutes, so I'll just play it over and over. And like the first time when I got it, I think I listened to it like 3 times back to back. I'm just like, and I hadn't even heard about the Legends of the Jews, right? These ancient manuscripts that was kind of put together with all the like information that most of the different nations had that had in common, that this was common knowledge to them. I'm just like, boy, what? So, but yeah, y'all, it's good. So if y'all want to read ahead or listen ahead, you can. I'll do that. Remember, watch Doctor Strange or rewatch Doctor Strange, and you will understand a couple principles that I was talking about here, y'all. Okay, so it is Saturday, March the 20th, 2021, day 107 of year 3 of reading through the books of the law and the prophets, and of the 3-year consecutive day count, day 776. Remember, that is without the Sabbath days added into the count, nor is that the feast day Sabbath days added into the count. Well, we rest, right? All right. So let's go ahead over here and do this here blessing, which is found in Numbers chapter 6, verses 22 through 27. Remember, the first 21 verses is the Nazarite vow, and a man or woman can take that vow. All right, and Yahuwah spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto Aaron and unto his sons, saying, On this wise ye shall bless the children of Israel, saying unto them, May Yahuwah bless us and keep us. May Yahuwah make his face to shine upon us and be gracious unto us. May Yahuwah lift up his countenance upon us and give us his peace. And they shall put my name upon the children of Israel, and I will bless them. All right, beautiful people. remember, I would really recommend that you guys, if you don't want to read it or order it, look, they have recorded this whole book, and every day I've been posting it in here in the comment, not the comment section, but in the description box. Yes, baby girl. Facebook and
Mom, Sai called me idiot.
He did. Tell him I'm gonna get his butt. Go tell Dad.
Sai, tell him.
Okay, I'm gonna get him in a second. Hold on. Tell him I'm coming up there to talk to him. As soon as I'm done with this video, tell him he should not be calling names, and tell him apologize to you. You are not an idiot. Okay? Okay. All right, so get that book. I posted the link out for all the PDF. You can purchase it from Amazon, or you can listen to it, the playlist, on YouTube, and they've just started recording volume 2. So all of volume 1 is there. I've listened to just about all of volume 1. And I think I've read just about all through volume 2 already. Like, if I can get stuff into me a lot faster by listening to it and get familiar with it, I'll listen to it while I'm going throughout my day doing stuff, right? Sometimes I may not be focused on it because I got to focus on one thing, but I still got it planned, so I catch little snippets and I go back and listen to it over and over again until I got all the pieces to what I need. But you'll even find out and hear some of the things that we read about in the legends of the Jews when they give you the ancient history of our people. You will find out how much of the story has truly been truncated. Y'all, it's been toyed with a lot, right? But as you get more pieces of the information, you're better able to weed out the leaven from the loaf, right? Because some things you can actually practice to verify for yourself. If you can't find evidence, I know we go looking, researching for proof and stuff. Some proof you are just not going to find, but the proof that you can't find, you definitely can test, right? And see if it's truly true. Those who really want to know. Some people just want to talk all day long. I ain't for all that talking. I'm really not. Although I talk a lot, but if it's something I need to find out, does this work? Is this true? Like, can we do this? Can we really do this? I don't want to sit and I don't want to debate and go through long discussions about it. What can we test? Give me something tangible that I can test now. Because you can sit and there is no end of words. And I can't with the non-ending of the words, y'all. I just truly can't. I need to test it. I need to be able to weed out really quickly what is good and what is bad. So although I will talk and discuss some stuff, I truly will for a deeper understanding. But now that I understand, let's prove this. Let's test it. What's good, what's not. If I can't come to a conclusive end at this point, I'll set it aside for the moment. But I'm just not going to sit and I can't. It's draining. You know, I have to be able, if we can't test it now, we may be able to test it later. We'll put it to the side while I gather more information to see. But for those of you who will, be ready to expand your thinking and your understanding. And as you do, you will see how it lines up with the truth that we have been learning, my G. Okay. That's all for today, y'all. I ain't really got nothing else. So I hope y'all enjoy y'all Saturday. Get out there and get some sun. It look like it's warm out there. The sun is shining, but sometimes it can be deceiving. Like one day it was 75, the next day it's freezing cold, like 40, 50 degrees. I'm like, why? It's the spring. Give me some heat. Now, I've always been a person, put me somewhere tropical. I want to live somewhere tropical. I can only do so much cold and I can only do so much heat. You know, I need it just right. Give me Baby Bear's bed. I need it just right. Not that I want to be Baby Bear. I want to grow up. I want to be an adult. I want to do adult things, right? You know, I want wisdom and grow. But I'm just saying, I know sometimes things are uncomfortable, and that's okay. You know, but I don't need to be uncomfortable all the time, right? Okay. But anyway, y'all, I'm just running my mouth right now. So anyway, we out of here. Rest. I'll see y'all back here Monday morning, 7:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. All right, y'all. Peace. We out of here.